everyone, my name is Sasha Savic. I'm CEO of MediaCom in US. I have a pleasure and privilege to introduce my guest and one of my favorite people, Andrea Brimmer, CMO of Ally. Andrea, how are you?
I'm good, Sasha. Good to see you, even though it's virtual, and happy to be with you today.
Um, I was thinking about this, and I just mentioned to you earlier that a year ago, this week, you and I went to Las Vegas to have brainstormings and meetings with the content makers with the idea that we will move into new, brave production content, data-driven world and change the world and disrupt the world one more time. And then this year happened. So have you seen anything like it? I mean, such a discrepancy between plans and dreams and then grim reality.
No, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can't ever remember a year like this ever. I mean, I was on the agency side during 9/11, and I was working on a GM account, and I remember what we had to go through to try and get the world restarted at 9/11, but it wasn't anything like this. It didn't have the lasting impact that this year has had, and we weren't all working from home, and we weren't all having to find different ways to reach consumers. And the other big piece is that, you know, it's been a difficult year in terms of just trying to capture people's mind share. You have to be really cognizant of where people are at emotionally right now, and it's been very tricky. It's been, probably the most dynamic year I've ever experienced as a marketer in my career.
So because of everything, because of obvious reasons, pandemic, social unrest, racism, elections, economic issues, and it's fair to say that this year was technical world shit. Uh, uh, was there anything positive? What is that we learned that maybe will stay and actually will be used in the future?
Actually, there were a lot of positives that came out of this year. First, I think as a team, agency team, client team, um, even within Ally, with my peers, with my team, I saw us come together like never before. I saw us congeal around common purpose, and really become more high functioning than we ever have before. Even living in this virtual and remote world, having each other's backs, keeping each other abreast of current affairs, working really hard to keep the brand safe, but also working really hard to bring the brand purpose to life. And that brand purpose piece, I think, was the other really important thing that I saw this year. We made a decision as a company that at the onset of the pandemic, that marketing wasn't the answer, that we needed a big brand act, and the big brand act needed to come right out of our purpose. And so we offered the largest forbearance program in the industry, right? 4 months, no payments on mortgages, 4 months, no payments on cars, waived all fees, made customers accounts, if they had a negative balance, made them whole. Those are things that I think are going to stay with us forever, because in the moment of the worst pressure, we behaved the right way. And I just feel like that's a life lesson that all of us will remember. We'll always remember this time in our career and what we did, and we'll carry that forward.
It's interesting what you just said because since we started working together, it was always joy because we always know that you expect us to come with disruptive ideas and programs, but in a year where everything is disrupted,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of interesting that disruption is actually have a different meaning than before. It's almost like hip to be square.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. We were just talking about entering an award show, and that the team was saying, well, we haven't really done a lot of new work and probably shouldn't enter. And I said, you guys, I feel completely differently. This is a year that as marketers, we had to behave like humans, and we behaved in the most humanistic and purposeful way. And that unto itself is a strategy and is a disruption, because it's something that we've never had to do before as companies, right? We had to fill voids that were being left for people. And we put our own revenues in harm's way in order to do the right thing for the customer. And that's something companies just don't normally do. And so, yeah, I do think that it's the ultimate disruption.
So in a year of lots of social issues, racism, ugly face of racism came back again. Um, Politics are as divisive as ever. It's almost like living in a country that is two countries.
Yeah.
How do you stay relevant to everyone as a national brand without alienating a certain group of people and still be very clear what you stand for?
I think there's always an inherent risk that you're going to alienate a group of people. I mean, we are a very purpose-driven brand. It sounds a little cliche. I'm sure everybody thinks they're a purpose-driven brand, but we truly are. We were born out of a purpose when in the midst of the last financial crisis, and that purpose was to fill a void around customer pain points that existed for so long in this category. And one of those major pain points, obviously, was financial inequity. And this notion of too many of people of color not being banked, unavailability of credit. And we looked to solve for a number of those pain points. And we looked to really lean into the idea of economic mobility and positive financial trajectory. And that's been a big part of the thread of our mission. And so in moments like this, we just believe you lean harder into your values. And if it alienates some people, then that's a consequence you don't intend for. But I also think when you stand for transparency and you stand for being on the right side of right, you have to do the right thing. And that's what guides us. We have this strong belief around the golden rule: do unto others as you would want done to yourself. And there's some inherent risk in that, but I think the reward is far greater.
Do you think that there was a lots of brands last 6 months that actually use this to be loud, but not necessarily to do much?
Yeah, I mean, I look at things like the Facebook boycott, frankly, where we decided not to necessarily participate in the Facebook boycott and just to do something different and to use our social media platforms that the month of the boycott to take on hard issues that are facing, the Black Lives Matter movement, people of color, racism, talk about the financial services role in that. I think largely brands are trying to do the right thing. I don't think there are any offenders that necessarily stand out. I think this is a moment of truth for all of us as brands. And I think that more than ever before, people are expecting brands to fill voids that are being left around real action in this world. And you mentioned the political climate, right? It's so divisive right now that while everybody's fighting it out in Washington, I think a lot of brands are stepping in and saying, okay, that's going on. We got to do something about this. And so I think I've been more proud of companies than I ever have been before, especially in the financial services category.
Let's talk a little bit about media, because name of this event conference is Video Everywhere. And I think that media usage was also very different during the last 6-8 months, especially at the beginning of Corona, because
Oh, yeah.
Number of people that went with the subscriptions, use of TV and some of these channels that actually last couple of years had a hard time. So in this environment where video is everywhere, and where you have hundreds of and thousands of different media channels to use, what comes first for you? Idea or data-driven choice of media channels that is relevant to your audiences?
Well, I may be unique in this, but it's always idea for me. I mean, I think that you can have the best data in the world, you can have the best distribution plan in the world, but if you don't have an idea that resonates at an emotional level, at the core of what it is that you're doing, then you really aren't going to break through. You don't stand for anything as a brand. And so I think that I've always been a big believer that ideas and media have to be conceived of together, that the best plans are those that are reflective of
That
the
informs each other.
yeah, exactly. You can't just create an idea and then just hand it to a media agency and say, okay, go figure out how to distribute this, right? They have to be born out of it. And you talked about our year ago being in Vegas and ideating around some big ideas for content distribution. And that is a cohesive plan. And so I think that there's not really a separation of those two.
Um, let's talk specifically about outdoor ambient. You in some of the programs last year, you did some pioneering work in use of kind of virtual media specifically for a program that we did together, Monopoly. What is the future of outdoor? Um, are we kind of are we gonna go back to the streets and into the world, or are we gonna stay locked in our little cocoons even when this is over? Like, and how you see getting brands out on the streets and out in the people's lives?
You know, I credit outdoor, particularly in the last year and a half and particularly with our work together, for helping really put us on the map in a big way. I know, the brief that we gave to you guys when we did the pitch helped make Ally a famous brand. It was a simple brief, and we used outdoor in many ways to do that, whether it was outdoor in Times Square, which was larger than life and something we had never done before as a brand, or programs like you just talked about, with Monopoly and other things that we've done. And look, people are already out. Yeah, I mean, we are cocooning, but we'll be back out, and it's already begun. And I think for us, outdoor has been a super successful strategy. It's been a way to get our brand out there big and larger than life. And I love the medium, and I can see us doing really progressive things as we go forward in it.
What is the first thing you're going to do when we get the news on TV that vaccine is available and that we ready and safe to go back to what we used to know as a normal life?
My first thing that I really want to do is have a meeting with the agencies and my team in New York, and go and just have that energy of being together again. I miss that so much, and then going out and having a great dinner and probably a whole bunch of drinks.
Oh, well, I'm going to hug you first time I see you. Nothing will stop me. Okay, Andrea, thank you very, very much. It was pleasure and joy talking to you as always. Stay safe, and let's just hope that we will have that meeting soon.
I hope so, Sasha. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I miss you and I miss the team. I'm looking forward to that hug.
Great. Thank you, Andrea.